Yo, what is going on, everybody? Mario Munguia here in Fighting FX. You know the deal. I'm here with FightsATW.com's own Abe Gonzalez. However, that's not really who's with us today. It's either the mastermind booker or this whole time Abe has been a fed for the WWE and always known what was going on and is tapped in to the chat, the DM chat that they got. Because, yo, you called it. You called so much, by the way, of tonight. But the biggest thing was before the show. I mean, before the main event even, so before John Cena even started, you said this feels like we're gonna get a new member of the Vision tonight. Now, I want to get into all that. I just want to let everybody know because everybody's been DMing me and bitching. The link is going to be in there. Okay. Today, we're talking wrestling. I'm talking this, and that's it. Abe's got 30 minutes. I got about an hour. So if you're going to jump on, you got to jump on. I'm telling you right now that I'm not going to sit and wait for people. But at the end of the day, Seth has retained. John Cena wins. Roman wins, but is written off. Abe, give us your overview of the show before getting into that main event booking and how it is that you saw that coming.
Yeah. So first of all, you're now speaking to Booker G. All right, and this is
Gotcha.
it's just the way it is, right? Booker G is speaking right now. No, listen, I was surprised about the runtime. Normally they're
Yes,
religious to that 3 hours, right?
my wife said that too. She couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they stuck to it, but something told me that they were going to do more than that when that Roman segment match, whatever you want to call it, was like an hour by itself. I
Dude,
was
that
like,
was two
damn.
matches. That was two matches. I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, that was two segmented matches, unsanctioned and sanctioned.
Yeah, now let's start there. Let's just start there.
Okay,
We'll breeze
absolutely.
through it.
I love the
You
way
know,
they kicked it off. I
yes,
did.
it was the right way to do it. Roman versus Bronson Reed. Look, he put Bronson Reed over like a mofo. Bronson Reed is over. Um, the match was good. I thought it lasted longer than it was supposed to, though.
Great point.
They should have tightened that one up a little bit more. Oh, I lost you. We lost
Y'all here.
Mario. He's back. He's back. All right. So, little longer than it was supposed to. Uh, but man, they made Braun Breaker look like the Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk in there, and I'm here for
Hell
it.
yeah, bro.
I am here
Definitely. He had them Lou
for
Ferrigno
it.
vibes. Hell yeah.
Man, that spear. First of all, the first spear was intense, but the second, it looked like he launched from like 20 yards away, which was
Hell yeah.
crazy. It almost reminded me of the X-Men movie when the when the Claw dude and Wolverine
Yeah.
like flew and
Dude, yes. Right? Sabretooth Wolverine. It was like that. Oh
oh
man, that was
man.
amazing. That was
Yeah.
amazing. Yo, when I had my head down and I heard my wife's reaction to Reed stopping the spear the way he did. Yo, she freaked out. I mean, it was incredible the way they did it. And you know what was so fascinating about it is that it worked on so many levels, and yet we'd seen it all before. We've seen Breaker spear somebody into, the next world and then leave and then come right back and do it again. Shout out Muriel, by the way. Hell yeah, John Cena with the win. Us, John Cena marks, always love it. But the thing is that even the tsunami thing was like, but it worked. It worked because you'd never seen Roman so vulnerable. Also, when they tied him up, that was sadistic. I mean,
Bro.
he was in the strap being cared for by medics, and they said, F that. This ain't over. This match ain't over. This segment ain't over. Yo, he tsunami splashed him so hard that the straps on the gurney broke.
Yeah.
Straps
Yeah.
popped, bro. But you said it before this, even before today, you said it a couple weeks ago that you felt like this was going to be used to write Roman off. Your first checklist of the day, nailed it. You said that this is likely for him to go finish Street Fighter and his role in that. Tell us, what do you think? I mean, was this the way to do it? Did they give this the perfect amount of heat for what we're going to get now with Reed? And where's the direction now with Roman? Is it Breaker? Should we get the Reed revenge? What's next for him when he?
Yeah, I think that this is going to lead into Survivor Series. That's probably
Agreed.
going to be the next thing, right? So Roman's going to need backup. So Roman's got Jey Uso, Reed's got Braun Breaker, and then I'd have to imagine that they're going to sprinkle in maybe CM Punk to Roman team, and then with Seth Rollins, and then I don't know who the last person would be, but I can see this being a Survivor Series match if they go in that direction. But yeah, Roman's gonna finish Street Fighter. He's going, obviously Cody is there. You can't have Cody and Roman off TV, right?
Yeah.
So Cody's there doing his thing. He just had his second child. Congratulations on that. And so, he's doing that. So they're probably gonna flip flop, right? High five it. And then Roman's gonna do his thing, and he's got another movie I think that's coming out as
Yes.
well. So
Yes.
like he's doing all that stuff. But listen, he said it on the Stephanie McMahon show that he doesn't want to give attention to one more than the other. He wants to be at the top for both. I don't know how that's gonna work,
Whoa.
but he wants to be a Hollywood star and still be a main eventer in WWE. He said that
That
to
seems
Stephanie. So
impossible.
it does.
It
But
really does.
he's gonna try it. So I think this is part of that. And yeah, let's see what happens. But man, Braun Breaker, I'm telling you right now, he is being built up as a beast, and he is right now. Yo, the future looks super bright for
So
him, bro.
bright. So bright.
Super bright.
Now, I think that the direction to go is Breaker. I really think that this should play out in a way where it almost feels like he defeats the like second boss, right? Which is uh you know, Reed, and then he goes into like the main boss with Breaker before the the final boss, right? With Seth. But I don't know if getting over on Breaker, like I don't know if beating Breaker is the call. Like if you're Roman and you are half out the door, half in at this point, knowing that contract is going to be a huge deal, and I think a lot of people haven't really talked about the fact that that could be a huge story, right? Because if TKO's looking to kind of restructure the way that they do deals, specifically long term with the cash cows of the company, Roman will be the first one on the chopping block, right? And in today's era with social media, I mean, look at Micah Parsons. I fully believe that social media and everybody played a part in that of saying who was getting who and what was getting ripped off and who was being disrespected. And it all played into, the best defensive player leaving, the Cowboys. And so could this be a situation where Roman feels disrespected in this cost-saving venture, right? Because they're not going to ask him to cut his contract so they could bring in a wide receiver to help win a Super Bowl, right? He's the quarterback. He is the main guy. You got to build around him. That said, though, you're going to run out of people to face. You're going to run out of legit conquests unless you start building someone. And Breaker, I think, is that guy. That could be a future WrestleMania match. Spear versus Spear, and the way that they're hitting each other with these things, it's gonna be like the super kick party with Spears instead.
Not only
So
that, but think about this. I think that if Roman beats Breaker, it's gonna be because of Seth accidentally, and then it sets up for the
the
Seth
Breaker said,
Breaker.
bro, that is
That's the move.
very good.
That's the
That is
WrestleMania
very,
match right there.
yes, absolutely, bro. You are 100% right. I didn't think of it that way. Because I like the vision. I still do,
For
right? For all
SummerSlam.
the crap that people are getting, I like them. And I like the way that it's working right now. I mean, tonight's storytelling was great, right? But to, get into it further. So Roman was written off. And then Jay comes out to help Roman. He gets hurt. He ends up having to tape his ribs for the main event. which also could have been part of this whole plan, right? To soften up Jay, knowing they'd get him out there. Uh, Two things. One, it does bother me a little bit. It's like, Roman, come on. By now, you didn't think that that was good. How did you not have a backup plan? Kind of is my thing. But the other thing, and the more important thing for me, is that you had Adam Pearce kick them both out, threaten suspension without pay, and then Roman, who put Paul Heyman in a guillotine earlier in the or post match, but before the beatdown, he goes to the hospital, leaving Seth vulnerable. And now I'm still not even there, right? Abe's 10 steps ahead of me at this point. But I'm going to play Monday Morning Quarterback and see it as, wow, they did a great job utilizing that first segment. That first, it really was like almost part one of a 2-part show. You know what I mean? It really felt like the Infinity Wars to what would end up being the end game, because it all plays out for the main event, right? With those two guys gone, Paul's gone. You got 3 other guys in this match. You don't have to be pinned to lose it. The odds are stacked against Seth, almost to the point where you almost empathize with him, if he wasn't such an asshole. It's all perfect, right? And you got babyface heat for Jay. You got, LA Knight's always there doing a good job. And Punk, the way that they crescendoed that match, it all led to it, so it was all interconnected. But what did you think about them utilizing that storyline like that?
No, I did enjoy it, but you know what I really liked is how they implemented reality into the situation. Braun Breaker was like on some so what when Pierce tried to say you're suspended. It wasn't
Yes.
until he said without
Without
pay.
pay.
That's when he was
Oh,
like, "Oh, hold on."
he's like, wait. Without pay.
Wait. Let us take
But
that walk.
but you're gonna pay for our flight home though, or am I
Yeah.
still pay? I gotta pay for that. Oh, okay, you know what, bro? Let's go to the Damon Busters. We could watch this over there.
And that's what it was. And then once they did that, that signaled to me, I said, oh, this is. And then the Seth promo when he said, I won this by myself or whatever. I said, oh yeah, there you go.
Oh
That
yes,
that person is coming. Who I thought
thank
it was
you
a
for
dude.
remembering that. Seriously,
I
that
thought
was
it was
perfect mind.
I thought it was a dude, and I thought it was gonna be Sami Zayn. But then it played out the way it played out. But that signaled to me. I said, oh, the new person of the Vision is gonna reveal themselves tonight. And little did we know it wasn't a he, it was a she, and
It
that
was a
was Becky
she.
Lynch.
Yes, it ended up being Becky Lynch. And here's the thing, right? Because I ended up sending some group messages out, right? Taking credit at first for the idea. And then once it happened, because I honestly wasn't sure it was gonna happen. Once it did happen, I was like, okay, I gotta tell everybody that it was Abe before people start giving me credit online. So I'm texting everybody, I'm like, dude, yeah, Abe actually had mentioned it. I never saw it actually coming,
Yeah.
and then people started saying how it wasn't a new member of the Vision. This is a one-off. This was a one-off. And I don't understand why anyone is saying that. As far as I'm concerned, what we saw was the Vision missing and a new member come to fill the role. Seth has been in vulnerable positions throughout his career and while they were married. Why hasn't she ever come out to help him? Why? Before the Vision, why didn't she help him? Why wasn't she even a part of the whole Paul Heyman turn at WrestleMania? Because it was never about them being partners as man and wife or husband and wife in wrestling. Okay. This was an official joining of the faction. And all I know is I thought from the very beginning they should have a woman in it. Right. A lot of people said, oh, it's gonna feel like Moxley and Shavir, but I didn't think it would feel that way. I really didn't. And I thought it was executed perfectly, worked really well. Do you want to get into the 4-way next right here?
Yeah, but you know
Okay.
what? You're gonna get mad when I tell you this.
What's
Don't
up?
get upset.
I'll try.
But this is replacing Karrion Cross and his wife.
No, you think so for real?
I'm just saying the vision, right? The optics. Karrion Cross and his wife, they were husband and wife, but the way they were portrayed in the WWE was that of a team, right? Well, what do you think they're doing with Seth? And and it's kind of like I saw somebody put a picture of CM Punk and AJ Lee, like I guess back in the day when she helped them, and it was kind of like that too. But it's just no coincidence that the Karrion Cross situation is happening. How he's involved in his wife, and remember this: what happened last weekend. Matt Cardona was in the GCW show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then what happened? His wife, Karrion Cross's wife, hit Matt Cardona with the low blow. And then that's when Karrion Cross came in and then, did the job. So very, very similar, right? Becky Lynch
Very.
comes in, does the underneath on the legs, right? And then, Seth Rollins wins the match. So I don't
So
know if go
let
ahead.
me try to share this. So Mayhem on Twitch saying that there are strong rumors, Hollywood rumors, not wrestling rumors, that both Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are in the running for a role in Avengers Doomsday.
Okay.
Now, I know that the Becky rumors have been there forever. Seth has always, been a name that's come up in, DC, MCU. So the idea of pairing them now ahead of a potentially mega, mega movie event, right? Something The Rock has never really been a part of. I mean, this is bigger than the Fast and Furious franchise. So that could all be tied into it as well. I mean, obviously a rumor still, but they've both been killing it outside of wrestling for a while now. So
Yeah.
it would make sense to put them together as the face of the company, as opposed to allowing them to continue to do it, separate. I love it. I love the female inclusion into the faction. See, how can you take over the company if you can't touch the other division? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? If you're going to take over the company, then it needs to be a full-fledged type of takeover. And you got to have one of the best in the women's division to A, keep them all in check, or B, recruit, right? Recruit. You have your own faction now. It's like spin-offs and stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to get out of control with this. All I'm saying is I like it, but I do very, very much recall hearing Seth say things audibly that he knew the camera would pick up. And one of those things was, I hate you and I hate your family. The inclusion of Becky Lynch has led me to believe that AJ Lee is and will be making a return to the ring sooner than we all probably expected. And while Survivor Series, I think, could go the way you booked it, I could also see them going that route with it. What do you think? Do you think that the AJ Lee Easter eggs were there? Are people looking too much into it? People, I mean me. And what would you think about that type of booking?
I like it, but you ignored the whole carrying cross narrative that I put out there. Don't
No, no,
ignore
no,
that.
no, no,
Don't
no, no,
ignore
no.
that.
It's not even that I want. It's not even like I'm trying to ignore it. It's more of like that is such a layered comment that you made. Okay, that's a huge, huge type of thing to lay on us because first of all, you're making it now sound like as if Karrion Cross maybe did have a major role coming up, and now rumors still, but there are people saying that money was the problem. Karrion Cross wanted a few 100,000 more than WWE was willing to offer him or thought he was worth, and he took that hard line. Apparently, WWE didn't think they would, but regardless, if he was set up in that position and now they're doing this audible, does it end up turning out the same way that Cena did, where they have Cody going heel and then they say, oh, let's do this audible without any real plans? So it's like, A, holy shit, these people are really gone, really gone. And then B, what was their legacy for their booking? They were obviously over and they obviously were going to put them and hit them hard with a new contract with the push. It's interesting. It's
Yeah.
interesting. I just don't think that it can be known. And here's the other part about it: the audible ends up turning out better, possibly, right? Because AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, I mean, come on, that's
Yeah.
gold. You're printing money at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. And I think, listen, CM Punk with AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Look, we talked about the fact that AJ Lee was going to come back maybe like the last 18 months, I think it was. Or ever
Oh yeah,
since that CM Punk came back, we were basically booking that. They just needed to do it the right way. And I think that this here is the right way. Kind of gives a little bit of a nostalgia feeling, right? You know, AJ Lee, Becky Lynch, kind of like part of the Divas era, right? And then now
yes.
they're, you know, can they? I thought that type of thought and thinking was going to happen or executed for the Nikki and Becky match, but it
Mhm.
just wasn't there. And we can slide right into that real quick because I felt like Nikki um was off on her
Yes,
timing and
definitely. She was
um
rusty.
yeah, really rusty. And I feel bad because I don't think that was the spot that she should have been put in immediately. She should have gotten
Well
some raw
said, dude.
matches,
Well said.
some raw SmackDown matches, get her feet under her, and then do it. If they did it that quickly, it's because they went for the cheap, as they say, the cheap pop,
The
and
cheap
then
pop.
keep it moving. You know what I mean?
Uh,
I don't think there was any long term plans for Nikki.
I wanted to ask you that. That was exactly, literally, I was writing that question down, so I didn't forget to ask you. Do you buy that Liv Morgan's injury truly upended the booking that they supposedly had for Nikki to the point where it was completely reshuffled and it ended up turning out the way it did, which was, in my opinion, a failed usage of a returning superstar? Or do you believe that Liv was only a first part of a plan that wasn't really thought out? I mean, how much respect, I think, is what I'm looking to ask you, did they have for Nikki and her return?
Not much. And maybe it was because, they're just buying live time to get ready, you know what I mean? To get
Oh,
back,
that's an interesting point. I like
so
that
that,
you do that. I like that you can stay balanced and even if you have a negative idea of what's going on, you can still see the room for positive. But
yeah.
I'm
And,
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, like I said, it could just be them buying time. So this bought them a
Buying
little bit of
time.
time.
Well,
And then by the time they get back to the States or whatever, Liv might be ready to go. So we'll see. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they bring that back again. They run it back, or they switch up Nikki and give her a little bit of more of a 2025 look, a little more edgier
ooh,
look.
yo, my wife was like, "Bro, they gotta retire that music.
Yeah.
It is awful, and it is cringe." Like, I'll be
Yeah.
honest, it is cringe. Real quick before we move on, I just want to say, I think you said it best. The spot she was put in wasn't good, and I know what you mean when you say that, right? You're not just talking about Paris and that crowd or the for the belt or against Beck. You're talking about it all, right? Encompassing. Okay, because the problem is you put her in a position where she's supposed to be the face and didn't consider the fact that Becky, and the UA and all that stuff, they might have been supporting her and she ended up being the face, and that's ended up what happened. On top of that, you could have been at least considerate of the potential for rust, right? And not book a match where she was supposed to be offensively dominant. That was the story. And then Becky pulled I mean, they say cheap win, but I don't like that, right? That's just it was a clean win is what it was, right? That was more catch can than anything else you can do. Um but yeah, so it wasn't it's everything, right? It was a bad spot from the moment that Liv got hurt, and they just didn't know what to do with her. But from going from that, I want real quick your opinion on the oh my god, I forgot. Is it Dolly Gagger? Dolly
Oh yeah. Let me tell you. First of all, Sheamus and
Bro,
Rusev blew the roof on that
blew the
place,
roof off.
bro. Their match,
Amazing.
their match was dope. The crowd was behind it. everything worked for them. People didn't like that, and I saw on your write up that you didn't like that Rusev won. But you know
He
what
got over.
though? Um, Me personally, they both won. They both got
Yes,
over like crazy. And I know that that's not what the crowd wanted, but listen, man. Um, I didn't know Rusev had that in him still. I didn't know he
I'll be
had that
honest. I
type of,
didn't know Sheamus still had that in him.
and I didn't know Sheamus had that either. Like they both they both prove to the youngsters in the back that when you are old head and you've been doing this for a while, that you can still do that. That
You
you
can
can
go out
still
there at any moment and raise the bar.
and raise the
Absolutely.
bar in a match that had zero
Zero.
anticipation next to
Zero.
the other ones.
And by the way, see, and I'll even refute that. I don't even think it was the next one. I think it was just one of the least intriguing programs in 2025. And I'm using fans' engagement to gauge it, right? People did not care. I mean, Rusev wasn't getting booed, he wasn't getting cheered. It was just dead silence for him. And everybody loves Sheamus, right? He really did save it. And the fact that they took this storyline there and used that narrative, right? His promo on SmackDown was basically like, I made you relevant again, Rusev, because nobody cared about you. They went deep with it, bro. And so then when they come and they pull this off, bravo, dude. Bravo. I just feel like when that crowd started doing the soccer thing, Abe, where they were like, oh, bro,
Yeah,
if
when they were
Sheamus hit the bro
jumping.
kick and got the win, I don't know that a riot wouldn't have kicked off the
See,
roof.
and that's
I
the thing
really
though.
don't. That's the moment that would have lived in WWE history and wrestling history forever.
But
It was
that's
just primed,
but
ready to
that's
go.
why
And then
but that's
Rusev
why you
won
don't do
and
it.
deflate.
But that's why you don't do because if Sheamus would have won in a big way, do you think that people would have been talking about any other match?
Oh, good call. Good call. Oh man, you're so good at this, dude.
You know what I mean? Like so,
You don't forget the other elements at play. That's what you do really well. You never forget the other elements at play. You're absolutely right. It could have sucked the energy out of John Cena and Logan Paul, which is where we got to go now because I know you
yeah,
got only a few
yeah, yeah.
minutes left. Yo, listen, Logan Paul, WWE put him in a test and he
This was
passed that
it.
test. He
This was
passed
the
it as
test.
far as I'm concerned. What did you think?
This was the test. Back in the day, what like if you can go with Hogan, you was the man, right?
Yes.
If you can go with The Rock, you was the man. This was the opportunity, or you can go with Undertaker, you were the man. This was the opportunity um for Logan Paul. It was like, hey, we're gonna put you in a program with John Cena. We want to see if you can hold your own on a promo, on when he hits you with something that you're not expecting, and then on the match. Let's see what you got. And he checked off all the boxes. And guess what? Logan Paul is going to be a world champion, whichever way you look at it, whether it's the world heavyweight or the undisputed, within the next 24 months. Guaranteed.
Mm,
Trust me when I tell you that.
bro, that is crazy. Crazy statement. And not because the opinion's crazy, because yeah, I think you might be right.
I'm telling
Uh,
you.
and here's the thing too, like he didn't just pass the test. There were moments there when he's covered in blood and he has this endearing quality about him where it's like, wait, do I want Logan to come back and win this? No, I don't. Do I? It worked on a lot of levels, and I think it was the right booking. I think
Yeah.
if John Cena loses to Logan, that the optics of that, the sub narrative outside of WWE, it takes on a whole new monster. That anti WWE pro AEW crowd would have not stopped talking about that for the rest of the year. So, but
But this
like
is the
you
thing
said,
though. Like,
Logan, I think still won
and that's the
in the
thing. Like,
loss.
with Logan losing, people aren't even talking about the fact that Logan lost. They're
No,
talking about
not
the
at all.
fact that he was doing his mother effing thing
Dang,
in
bro.
that
Putting
ring.
on barn burners.
You know what I mean? Doing the moves, the Cena moves, knowing exactly where the camera is, just executing nice and tight, like just being in sync with Cena. I know for a fact that after that match, when they went in the back, Cena probably slapped him in the back and said, "Yo, you ready, kid?" And that's it, and kept him moving. I'm almost positive he did that.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think you might be right. It was terrific seeing Cena like this. I feel like we haven't seen Cena like this in so long. I mean, we've been getting it lately, right? But at this level, in front of this crowd, like we didn't get this for SummerSlam,
Yeah.
right? We were still on the other side of this whole thing, and it kind of just feels like it made up a little bit for not having this version of John Cena at SummerSlam. But yeah, kudos to them. And
I-
yeah, dude, I'm gonna
I'm
clip what you said because I think we'll be playing it back in a year's time and saying you fucking did it again, dude.
I'm gonna tell you like this: Logan Paul post this match is gonna have the same run as Berlanga had post Canelo match. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
gonna take that loss and run with it. And
Yeah.
yo,
That was so good.
he's taking that loss and running with it. Watch. He's gonna be like,
Yo,
I went toe to toe with John Cena, blah, blah, blah. Who in the back can say the same? Yes. I've only been
bro,
here two
perfect mic
years
drop moment
or
there.
whatever. Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Listen, it's been 30, so I'm gonna let you go. I'll make
What's the
sure,
last one? What was
plug
the
in
last one,
everything.
real quick?
The other one was the tag match, which I
Oh,
don't
let me
what'd you
tell you
think?
something, and I'm gonna run through it real quick. I didn't like, and you said it perfectly in your recap for fightsatw.com. It was goofy, man. The outfits were goofy. Um, this felt like an old school, like, was it, who was that guy named the Glacier or something like that from WCW?
Oh, yeah, from WCW, yes,
Yeah, like
Glacier. Yeah,
it
Glacier, yeah.
it just felt goofy.
Goofy.
And but I think that they're gonna split up the Street Profits. It's written on there. They're gonna
You had
split
said
them
that.
up.
You think
And
Ford's ready for it?
I think Ford has been wanting it for a long time, man. Like,
Mm,
he wants to have that singles run, and he has the athleticism, the personality, and everything to have a singles run.
yes.
He's starting to get everybody to do this, right? So
Yes,
so
dude, that
that's
was
picking up
huge.
a lot of steam, right? And I can see him keep pressing on that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the future match, if it ends up building the way I think it could be, Logan Paul versus Montez Ford. That right there is a 5-star match in the future. Book it.
Yo, that is the perfect mic drop moment. Uh, wow. Holy shit, you're right. You're right for a lot of reasons I don't even really want to get into right now. Um, a lot of reasons that have to do with boxing and and things that make those fights so big. Yeah, dude. Wow. I didn't see that at all. Good one. That's a very, very good one. These are two guys that can connect to an audience that the vast majority of wrestlers have always had trouble tapping into. You know what I
That
mean?
that that right there is a Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit type of match.
Whoa, chill, champ.
I'm
Chill,
just telling you.
champ.
I'm just telling you.
Yo,
Hey, what do they say in boxing? Styles make fights,
bro.
and their
Sure,
styles
definitely.
in the ring. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, but anyway, man, appreciate you tapping through for real. Great
no doubt.
job, by the way, booking this whole show. Awesome. Man, I'll hit you up this week. Hopefully we can get you on either after Raw or before SmackDown sometime.
You already know, at AbeG718 on X, Instagram, fightsatw.com is the website. At AbeG Boxing is the YouTube page, and at AbeG718 on TikTok. I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna hit you up.
Appreciate you, big dog. Thank you so
All
much.
right, man. Peace.
Yo, that was the boss that calls them all and never stalls and always coming up clutch. Shout out to the boss man. FightsATW.com. If you didn't get to watch Clash of Paris, you can go and check out my article on it. It gives you, the full recap. All if you did watch it as well, I also give context and a lot of other stuff to it. So, certainly it is worth the opportunity to click the link just to bookmark fightsatw.com, because if you're a fan of combat sports, boxing, wrestling, then that is the place that you need to be tapped into every morning or afternoon or evening whenever you download your nope, that's not going to happen, champ. You can go on YouTube or oh shit, my bad. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that, champ. Damn it. I haven't done that in a long time. I forgot to go live on IG, but I haven't done that in a long time. So you got to give me a little credit on that. But anyway, listen, I want to get into the tag match real quick. It was goofy, man. The Borderlands 4, first of all, the game looks sick, dude. I'm not gonna lie. It looks really good. But like, they're the Street Profits. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, man, I want to use like a hip hop metaphor, but I don't know if everybody's gonna get it. But it's like if Tupac tried to be like MF Doom, or if Snoop tried to be like Chance the Rapper, or if Snoop tried to be Tyler the Creator or something. It's just like doesn't vibe. Like, they're the Street Profits, right? Like, their gimmick is like they're cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, trendy, fashionable, you know what I mean, athletic. Like, I mean, basically like what Logan Paul is outside of WWE, or what he tried to market himself as, is basically what the Street Profits have done as far as marketing themselves. I mean, that's the thing, is like, because Abe is so right. Montez Ford, if you didn't get to hear his promo, if you didn't get to see the match and the full card, it does feel like they are setting him up for a singles push. I'm not saying it's going to happen, on the Raw after or even SmackDown or anything. I'm just saying that I do see it coming. I think possibly by the end of the year, maybe like setting it up for the end of the year or for the beginning of the year. I mean, the one thing that we know in the Triple H era, guys, is that my man loves to slow play some breakups and some turns. I think A Town Down Under is still a tag team right now. They just don't know it yet. They're gonna come back and book them right back together, champ. Yo, Triple H ain't gonna be satisfied until he has his version of the Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty barbershop moment with them too, and it's gonna be ass because nobody's gonna care. But yeah, I could see them doing that. I really could. It's not that I was mad. The match wasn't even bad. It really wasn't. It just didn't work. It was goofy. You know what it felt like? It felt like creative, or like the producer was trying to book it in favor of the Wyatt Six and their style, right? Instead of seeing the styles mesh and like combat each other, right? Styles make fights is something that if have been a combat fan for even a little bit of time, you should have heard by now. And you've heard it, and it's been said for decades and decades and decades, because it's true. Styles do make fights, and these two had the styles to make I think a really good match, and we've seen them do really good work together in tag team, mixed tag team, or multi-team tag teams, and all that. So we know they have it in them, but it just felt like the WWE was trying to book spooky with spooky, and it turned into goofy. And that's oftentimes what happens when they try and go outside the bubble of that, right? And I'm sure that when you are successful at booking spooky, it builds your confidence in a way that doesn't end up helping you. And we have data and history that supports that. Look at what Vince did with the Undertaker. I mean, there was a second Undertaker, there was a purple Undertaker, there was a Phantom of the Opera Undertaker, there was an American Badass Undertaker, there was an all black gothic Undertaker, there was Ministry of Darkness Undertaker. The list goes on. There was MMA Undertaker, I guess is what we'll call him. Like, there was a list of different Undertakers, right? And when they were successful with the character, they would always go too far the next step, right? Undertaker, successful Survivor Series and WrestleMania run. And then they gave him, or no, SummerSlam and Survivor Series run. And then they gave him Giant Gonzalez, right? Uh, he gets written off TV against Yokozuna, comes back to face himself, The Undertaker, right? And I'm not even saying that I didn't like it out as a kid and it wasn't great and it didn't work, but like looking back, yeah, it was terrible, right? Um, every time you get something spooky in wrestling, the booker's bound to mess it up. And I'm not saying they messed it up tonight, not at all. I am saying though they messed up a chance for a really solid match and a card that would have like, because dude, the card was pretty good, like really good for a card that I don't think many people really like cared. Not that they didn't care about it, that it wasn't hyped a lot. Like, you know, Logan Paul, John Cena was what it was. You know, it was popular because of people that don't watch wrestling, right? But it wasn't loved or liked by people that do watch it. But it was still, you know, one of the premier things on the card. You know what I'm saying? So like when you have all these things kind of like built up and you're able to like produce a card that feels different, right? Like as great as AEW pay-per-views are, you know, when you have banger after banger after banger, it's like, you know, what am I really getting in terms of versatility, right? Because if every match is versatile, versatility ends up becoming, you know, homogenous or you know, boring. But tonight we got a mixture of good tag team action. We got a mixture of good singles action. We got post-match stuff that was solid. Um, you know, if you did not see that Donnybrook match, you got to go see it. Rusev and Sheamus tore the house down, you know, in spite of multiple Slim Jim tables, in spite of the ring looking like, you know, the yellow pages from 1995, in spite of the Prime logo being taking the place of the WWE logo on the turnbuckles. In spite of all that, Clash in Paris was great. That match, the tag match, was, in my opinion, one of the lesser bright spots. But again, it goes to this point that I'm trying to make overall, and that is that the SmackDown division has been incredible. You could say that since 2023, the SmackDown division has been the premier tag team division in all of wrestling. You know, and that's in the face of a company that prided itself on bringing back tag team wrestling in AEW. And ever since the Wyatt Six were introduced into the division, I feel like creatively it's taken a huge hit. And tonight's match, I think, represented that best of all, because what you had was a solid match with incredibly good talent that worked tag team well together. But it was goofy. You know, they come out in these gimp masks. You know, they look like they belong to the Demolition faction and they're all about to get together to make some weird, like, what is it, BDM or BSM or whatever, like that weirdo shit is. Like, bro, that's what it looked like to me. Like, why you got a cup of spikes? Ash, one of them was wearing a spiked cup, right? A spiked cup. One of the Street Profits, when they had the masks on, I thought they had a cup on their crotch and it was spiked. I might be wrong. I might be just like remembering it wrong, but I am almost positive that one of them wore a athletic cup on the outside of their trunks covered in spikes. Like, who was that for? You know what I mean? Like, who in the back was like, dude, you know what would be super cool if we put a bunch of really like sharp points around your crotch area? I think everybody would be like, dude, look how hard this guy looks, bro. Yo, he's so dangerous, even his crotch is dangerous. Like, I can't imagine hearing that and being like, and saying anything but like, bro, that sounds lame. Like, that sounds dumb. Like, just send out the Street Profits, bro. Like, they're cool as shit. They'll get over with that Paris crowd for sure. But yeah, White Six were successful. No title changes tonight. Becky retained. Tag champs retained. Seth retained. Was that it? I think that was it. Yeah. So anyway, moving on, I do want to get real quick into the main event. I think AJ Lee is definitely coming back, and I like it. I like the booking. AJ Lee is a very weird um superstar. Not like her as a character, I mean like her place in wrestling, right? Because she is very, very responsible for helping transition the diva era into what we have today, which is serious roster of wrestlers. And so but the thing was, is she was a badass as a diva still. Like you could see it in her, despite that terrible, terrible era. You could see it, and so as she transitions into this, because you had Paige, like all these people like Paige and like Charlotte and Monet, like they always like talk about how responsible they are for the revolution, for the women's revolution. And that's true. It's definitely not false, but I feel like more credit has to be given to people like AJ Lee for being in the trenches. Like a lot of these girls kind of made their way in NXT, which didn't have that stigma, that the WWE women's roster had. So for AJ Lee to work that roster or work that system in her favor and be so good that it was just undeniable, even in an era of shit booking for women. I want to see her return, man. And then when you take into account her story that we learned post wrestling and all the mental health issues that she's had and the trauma in her life, I mean, she's a great story, dude. If she's not your ideal face in 2025, I don't know who is. I really don't. To return, I mean, right? Like, Abe said it, right? Nikki Bella could be very, very, could benefit a lot from having a full, like, a complete remake, having them go back to and just like doing something different, outside of the Bella Army gimmick. Now, you risk alienating a group of fans that literally refer to themselves as your army. I get that, but either you're a wrestler or you're a gimmick entertainer who wrestled. And the difference is that if you're a wrestler, everybody alters their gimmick. Everybody. You can't think of one wrestler that came into wrestling as the same gimmick, especially the guys at the top. I mean, The Rock redefined himself multiple times. Stone Cold was multiple, gimmicks and names throughout his career. Undertaker's really one of the only few, that and Bret Hart. And you can argue that Bret Hart really wasn't super successful after going to WCW and really running the same gimmick. And you could also argue the Undertaker dropped the dead man shtick at some point and was like the American badass or whatever. And so to see Nikki Bella do it, I think it would be well received by fans outside of her army, so to speak. But that said, though, AJ Lee feels way more of a current character in the style that she was booked as, right? Like I feel like AJ Lee from whatever she left 2000, was it 14? I don't remember, but no, it was like 2016. I don't remember. Whatever it was. Like that AJ Lee could come back into this version of WWE and not miss a beat and not seem weird and not seem out of place, right? Like if you brought I was going to say Sonya Blaze, Alondra Blaze, into this era, she might seem a little off, a little gimmicky, right? She had that 90s sort of like fitness gimmick, like that aerobics work, like aerobics trainer thing, like video, whatever. That was like her gimmick, I guess. But a lot of that wouldn't work. I don't think Nikki's gimmick works today in the current landscape of WWE. I really don't. I mean, her music is just kind of cringe now. Um, but for all those reasons, I think AJ Lee deserves a run in WWE, like a final run, if that's what she wants it to be. Obviously nobody other than Cena is going to get the Cena treatment, and that's fine. That's fair. But that doesn't mean that everybody can't get a run, right? Like, if this was going to be Nikki's last run, they didn't have to tell us, right? Like, why not end it in like a retirement match, or like you can't come back to wrestle match or whatever? Um, it doesn't have, you don't have to completely do away with kayfabe when it comes to this stuff. Just because you're retiring doesn't mean we have to treat it like the gold watch ceremony that, people expect when they retire from actual jobs. Or, I mean, from traditional jobs, I should say. Uh, Everybody wants that send off. Everybody wants their legacy to matter and to be honored. But wrestlers, I'm sorry, you don't get that. Your whole thing is an act. So it has to all work towards the act. So if you're Nikki and this is your last run, or if AJ Lee is being brought in for this final thing, we don't have to announce that it's her final run and she'll never wrestle after this, because it takes everything out of the story. Daniel Bryan didn't say, "Oh, I'm leaving," like he was hurt, right? He was hurt. It wasn't like he retired because he wanted to retire. He was retired because he hurt. There's the narrative, right? He comes back. We knew he was leaving. We knew he was done in AEW after a certain amount of matches, and yet they never played it that way. They wrote him off as if he got the life beat out of him and couldn't come back. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could work it multiple ways. That said, I have reasons to believe that the WWE is leaning in towards the idea of having mixed tag team matches more and more. I think that there might be a chance we see some sort of, gimmick out of all this, but ultimately they'll at least do the one match. AJ Lee and CM Punk versus Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. That just prints tickets. That's just printing money right there. But can you do it right? Can you tell a story that equally satisfies the long desire that fans have had to see Punk and Lee team up together, while making it narratively work, or work narratively in the way that Lee has heat for Becky, right? Because if it's just as simple as, "Oh, you low blowed my man and I'm coming back for revenge," it's kind of weak, It's kind of weak. Like, I mean, a lot of people have been hurting your man since he came back to wrestling. Like, you know, I get it's a little different, but all I'm saying is that we could get more out of this, right? We really could. And here's the other part of it. This should end the Seth Rollins CM Punk saga. I'm sorry, but I'm really, really tired of seeing the same narrative play over and over. Now, tonight was, I thought, great. I thought it worked. Okay. Um, Maybe some people might not like it, and that's fine. But I think it's worth at least seeing how it plays out, right? It has been, in my opinion, a mistake keeping Seth and Becky away from each other on TV. Everybody knows they're married. Everybody knows they're together. It's like as if Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth, at the height of their popularity together, got somehow signed to WCW, both of them, and they kept them off TV, like together, like they were separated, right? I mean, it just makes no sense. They're a power couple, so to speak, right? Um, and here's the other thing. I said it earlier. You're going to take over WWE. That means taking over the women's roster too. You cannot just take over the men's roster without, or you can't just take over that one division and assume that that's like conquering the whole division, right? Because that's like saying that the women's division has no stakes, like that they don't matter, right? Like they are the WNBA to the NBA. And I mean, and by that I mean, like, the NBA supplements the WNBA, right? Like the whole reason the WNBA is able to exist is because the NWA the NBA pays for them to exist. That's not the case with women's wrestling. Not at all. Okay. There are promotions out there that are nothing but women globally that have succeeded and survived, and even in a lot of eras thrive over the decades. And it's just not seen the same way. I mean, there are WWE fans, hardcore fans, whose favorite wrestlers today are Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch or Bailey. They love the men's roster, but they enjoy the women's roster more. And I get that. I do. I get it, because when I was a fan of boxing as a kid, and the era of heavyweights had really kind of just ended, and all anybody could ever talk about is the next heavyweight, the next heavyweight. Meanwhile, I'm watching all these featherweights and lightweights and bantamweights put on the best fights of that year, and nobody's paying attention, and it's weird to me, because it's like, dude, you say you're a fan of boxing. This is boxing. Okay, yeah, they're not as big as heavyweights, but I don't know. It sounds kind of weird that you're like, nah, man, I only like boxing where the dudes are like really big and they're like hunks, and I just want to see big old meat. It's like, bro, that's a weirdo thing to be, admitting to everybody. And yet that was the case. So I get the representation matters in combat sports, right? Chocolatito is one of my favorite fighters of all time because he is a badass. He is a monster. And yet he's shorter than I am. I'm 5'6", and he's shorter than me. Same thing with like Bam Rodriguez, right? Pacquiao, like all these dudes are Inoue. That his literal nickname is the Monster. These guys are all like 118 pounds, 120 something pounds. Like, I don't know. But this could spark a new revolution of mixed tag matches, women and men. I really do think that this could be the case. So we'll see. We'll see if AJ Lee ends up getting involved. I know that we've had these kinds of rumors and intuitions before, based on what was going on in WWE Creative or WWE TV that week, but this feels different. There's no reason for Seth to audibly scream at Punk in the climax, by the way, right? This was the send home. They were going home after that. And he's screaming, I hate you. I never want you to have the title. I will do anything to keep you away from the belt. And then he's like, I hate you and I hate your family. Finished on that part, by the way. Because why? When you end a comment, that's the last thing people remember, right? Like, don't get me wrong, Darth Vader telling Luke that, he's his father is epic. Sorry if that was a spoiler for you. But it's like, it works so much better because it was the last thing he said. Like, it was the last part of his dialogue right there. That end part hit so hard. So he knew, ending in that way, yelling that, the last part, I hate your family, is able to be clipped. It's able to be, I mean, it really was clip farming is what he was doing right there. That's exactly what was going on. But it wasn't for the sake of clout on Kick or Twitch. It was for the sake of building, I think, this storyline, right? I hate your family. What reason would Seth have to say that? If anything, Rollins' entire shtick since Punk has come back is the idea that he is pure evil and everyone that circles or gravitates him are victims of his bullshit. And you'd assume that somebody like AJ Lee would fall into that same category. So why would you say, I hate your family? I don't know. Seems to me like AJ Lee is definitely coming back. I do want to talk about. Oh shit! Hold on. The links in the chat, bro. I mean, I can send it to you if you really need me to, but you're literally one click away right there. I definitely have it in the YouTube chat, in the X chat. And by the way, if you're on X and you're watching, you can tap in, get your call off. Bro, every time. You can get your call off and let me know your thoughts on the show tonight and any future bookings you also might believe are incoming. But it's going to be an interesting Raw after. Um if you're going to do the AJ Lee move, I think she comes out on Monday. And if you're not going to do it, then I would suggest not making any sort of suggestions or Easter eggs that fuel the speculation. AJ Lee needs time to come back. She needs time to get comfortable, cut promos, have a couple matches. I mean, that's what Abe was saying about Nikki. You know, a lot of what went wrong in her run could have been, um, helped. It could have been prevented had she had some time in the ring and things like that. All right, I sent it to you. Uh, so where was I on that? Oh yeah, so the Logan Paul John Cena. I want to just touch on that a little bit more. Logan Paul has passed every test that they have given him in WWE. Um, from the moment he started working with The Miz, his work with Rey Mysterio, AJ Styles. Nobody's saying that today was the first time he's ever worked with anybody significant or great or good or talented. Not at all. This was, however, the first time that he's ever been in the ring with anyone that is on the Mount Rushmore, right? This would have been the same thing as being in the ring with like a Ric Flair or a Bret Hart or a Rock or Stone Cold, right? This was John Cena versus The Rock for Logan, right? So Logan has passed all these tests. He has made highlight spots in multi-man ladder matches, in party table matches, in Royal Rumbles or Battle Royals. Um, he has done singles, tag team. He's worked celebrity gimmicks. I mean, he's really passed a lot of the tests that wrestlers end up having to pass on their way to the tippity top. But he'd yet to face someone of John Cena's status in wrestling at the height of this kind of program. Um, the pressure that Logan had to be under. I mean, you got to wonder how much shit he really cares about wrestling and the fans. But if he does care even a little bit, then he had to have been concerned, might not be the right word, but worried, I guess, about, coming through, right? Because everybody's saying he doesn't deserve this. Cena has 3 months left in this company. Why on earth is Logan Paul getting that shot? Why on earth is it someone like him and not literally anyone else? You could have brought the guy from TNA. And yeah, a lot of people aren't believing in Hendry as much as they used to these days, but he's still better than Logan Paul. So with all that pressure on him, he goes out there and he delivered. He really did deliver. He kept up with Cena's pace. And that's to say that he was able to slow down and speed up in moments when he had to. You see, guys like Logan, right, that are really athletic and can do really impressive spots, their problem is usually going too fast, right? Their problem is usually feeling too much pressure and anxiety when things are moving too slow, right? There's this famous line from shit, I forgot what it was from. I thought it was from Unreal, but I know it's not because it's older than that. I've heard The Undertaker say it, a bunch of people, but basically, I think it was Cody that I heard last say this. But basically, it's like a veteran piece of advice, right? They'll tell a guy who's good but young, and they'll say, "Look, we're gonna go in there. Um, I just want you to slow down, okay? And then when you slow down, cut that in half and slow down half as much." And then when you see yourself going so slow that you possibly couldn't go any slower, slow it down 100% more. And this is to say that, the adrenaline, the fans and the reactions and all that you feed off of, your energy, your feelings. I mean, that's all we are in the end, right? We're a bunch of atoms and energies and frequencies. That's it. And so when you're able to put a bunch of people in a building, right, and create this frequency and this energy, you can live off of it. You can feed off of it. I mean, it becomes like a drug. You heard Travis Scott. He said it was better than fucking rapping. He said wrestling was better than rapping. And what he was talking about was the adrenaline rush that he gets. Um and I believe that. I really do. I mean, I'm not trying to hate, right? I love rap, but it's not always the most exciting live show. You know what I mean? A lot of times these guys just have their track playing over and they like ad lib the last parts, right? And it's not even talking shit, right? Because if you've ever had to record stuff or you know anything about recording artists, you know that like punching in is something that most of these artists do, right? They don't rap like, I'm coming down the block in a drop, you ain't gonna see me. Everywhere I go, they be like, I don't believe me. Like, it's not like, oh, a constant rap. It's like coming down the drop. And then they cut. And now it's playing back in your ears, like coming down the drop. Ready to beat in down the block. Like, so you're like punching in, right? So it's hard to ride the beat for some songs today based on the way that rappers record them. And that's to say that, you know, rap concerts can suck bad sometimes and be boring as shit. Um, and the wrestling energy makes you want to just like get up and just like go hard, right? And that's why I think Logan really is able to pull a lot of stuff out. He feels that energy for the first time in his life because he's never been an athlete, at that level. Not at all. I mean, yeah, he's had some boxing matches. I guess you could say that the Mayweather thing was big enough, but nobody really treated it as a real fight. You know what I mean? Like the sports world wasn't invested in any Logan Paul fights. It was mostly social media and the non-athlete world really that was obsessed with him. So to be in that position and be able to work and keep up with John Cena, who very well may be the greatest of all time in this era, in the past era too. When you look at the ruthless aggression era into what would become like the TV 14 or whatever, name me someone better because it's not Batista, it's not Randy Orton, it's not a lot of people that you would consider. And so for him to keep up with this guy, John Cena, at the height of his face return. I mean, and by the way, this is one thing me nor Abe mentioned. This crowd was one for the books. I mean, it really was one for the books. These guys were undoubtedly one of the best crowds in wrestling in the history of the sport. And they certainly are the best crowd this year from WWE standpoint. Um, One thing I didn't put in my recap is how WWE at the very beginning of the show had to mention that this was like the biggest European or non-American venue, like attendant or like capacity wise. Now they didn't say they sold it out though, like capacity. I mean, I'm sure they sold out whatever they sold, but I don't know that that was capacity. But it's like AEW did what they did in London, and they made a big deal out of it, which they should. It's a huge deal. And so it's like WWE had like it almost felt like they had to come back and do something like that, right? But anyway, also they announced that Michael Cole. I mean, it was announced a while back if you hadn't seen it, but Michael Cole was named in New York Times most influential sports TV commentators of the 21st century. I think I said that right. So they gave him his flowers for that as well. But JR was also mentioned. So anyway, Cena wins, right? And where are we with that? I think that there's a big hole missing that we had with the heel run. See, the heel run was shit, right? We can all agree on that. It was terrible. It was set up for to be a failure. Nobody could save it. Now, I will say I thought John Cena could have saved it because when you look at what has transpired, and I wrote about this for fightsatw.com, which is where you could go to check out my recap on Clash in Paris, as well as my recap tomorrow on the Raw after and SmackDown. I wrote about this, and I wrote about how I was feeling like a lot of people talk about creative control this year, right? Specifically regarding Monet and what she's done with the title belt collection. Um, and they confuse creative control with hot shot booking. It's not really even hot shot booking if you're just continuously doing it, but creative control is when Hulk Hogan can tell a booker, doesn't work for me, brother, and you got to do something else, right? Um Creative control is not Bret Hart saying, "Nah, I don't want to do the job for Shawn. Find something else. Let's do a schmaz." And Vince saying, "Okay, let's do it." And then doing something completely else. Because if he had full creative control, he could have sued for a lot of money that would have probably bankrupted the WWE. So it brings me to this thing with John Cena. We knew the run was coming, right? We knew the retirement run was happening well before we knew that he was going to turn heel. And in this process, multiple people took the helm of his booking. I'm not saying Ari Emanuel had anything to do with the creative, really, but him making that call to The Rock to make Elimination Chamber bigger heading into WrestleMania, right? That was what The Rock said. He said. You could say that Ari Emanuel at least started the booking for Cena just by making that call. Then The Rock had his hand in it. Triple H had his hand in it. Nick Khan had his hand in it. There were so many people playing with the John Cena booking, and none of them had any sort of real understanding of what his legacy was, what his fans expected of a final run, and what the true significance of a heel turn actually meant. And I'm not saying I know wrestling better than any of those guys that I mentioned, not at all. But I do think, in fact, I'm pretty sure I know that John Cena knows his character better than any of those people I mentioned, certainly better than myself. And what he's been able to do since turning face is remarkable. I mean, he turned this whole thing around and got everybody to love him again. I mean, he shit on that fan, and then he used the whole weekend basically to make it like like a redemption arc. I don't know if anybody's booking Cena shit right now or like how much creative input he's really got, but it feels like he's in control of the situation. It for sure feels like he's in control of the character by now. And while there's a long history of creative control ruining wrestling promotions, wrestling pay-per-views and events, this might have been one of the few times in wrestling history where giving creative control to the talent would have far better outweighed the negatives. And it might have been a genuinely historic run if Cena was at the helm from the very beginning, able to call his shots. Knowing the kind of character and wrestler that Cena is, it's not something he'd ever demand. He shows up to work to do his job. And I think that's why I didn't appreciate hearing these rumors that, he's there telling people to call Lesnar to get him in for a match. Like, it isn't appreciated because it's like, no, bro, I came and did what y'all wanted and it sucked. Okay. So don't try to put this shit on me now. Like, I came out here and I tried to work it as best I could, but y'all set me up for fucking failure. And it's true. And it's true. But 3 months we have left. I just don't want this to be treated like a football schedule anymore, right? Where we know the Cowboys are playing the Eagles on Thursday, opening night, and we know who they're playing on Thanksgiving, and we know who they're playing in the final season of the year, right? This is not football. Wrestling is different. And while I can appreciate a wrestler and superstar the magnitude of John Cena and why it should be different for him versus a lot of other people, I also don't think that it's worth fucking it all up, right? For ego or for like it almost felt like it was a power trip that Cena and The Rock were on. I mean, I'm sorry, that The Rock and Triple H were on. It was like this tug of war between like who is, whose idea of wrestling booking is more equipped for this era. Um, when Vince was booking, I assumed that Triple H would take over one day and we would have the best version of wrestling that we ever had. Because here's a guy, Triple H, who came from the Attitude Era and who understood how important it was to blur the line between what's real and what's not. In an era of wrestling where kayfabe is not dead, but is not nearly as strong as it once was. There was once upon a time, whether some fans are too young to really understand this, once upon a time, it was not widely known that wrestling was fake or scripted, I should say. Sorry. Um, it wasn't widely known that wrestling was scripted. And that magic, that kayfabe magic helped to create moments in wrestling that outlive everything. But in this era, it doesn't work that way. So you have to find ways to blur the line. And I thought Trips was going to be that guy. I really did. But I don't think he is, man. I don't think he is. I think he's too attached to this thing, right? Like there's too much of his ego that is involved in the creative process. Like he knows he has to be better. He knows he has to live up to this fan expectation that we all had. And he doesn't, but that's, I'm sure, how he feels. And yet he dropped the ball completely. And here's the other part. Like, how did you not realize that you putting The Rock in that situation was going to tie him in the way it did? I mean, it almost feels like this isn't the same guy that grabbed the fucking tank and drove down the block to where WCW was taping Nitro or filming Nitro. Like, it almost feels like that's not the same guy. It almost feels like he's completely lost on the notion of blurring the lines of what's real and what's not. I mean, like he should have just come out and said, you know what, John, you're doing what I say now. And I'm telling you that, you're not going to come and change your music. You're not going to do that. Blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like some sort of friction. Because at the end of the day, when The Rock leaves, that's it. The narrative's broken. You can reestablish it if you want or try, but it usually ends up becoming a failure. So listen, that's going to be my time. Doesn't seem like anybody jumped on for nah, sorry, champ. You can't do it on IG like that, though. Seth whack as fuck. Yo, shout out Young Tigre. Yo, shout out Adrian. Adam Lopez, too, in the building. Appreciate you. Shout out to Muriel and Mayhem and Matthew in the chat as well. I'll be live tomorrow on TikTok in the morning at Infighting FX. And then I'm also going to be doing a guest spot tomorrow at 11 Pacific, 1 p.m. Central Time. And that is going to be on the Prophet channel, Chicano Prophet. He's got me coming through. We're going to talk Canelo Crawford. And we're also going to talk about the nuanced topic of Mexican YouTube channels and their support or lack thereof of their countrymen fighters. Um, I don't know if y'all have noticed. It just feels like a lot of people aren't really going for Canelo that are Hispanic or Mexican or of Latin descent, and that's okay. I'm not saying it's not okay. I'm just saying it's weird. It's different than the era I grew up in. And I think it's a very important topic. By the way, shout out to Kenny Florian, who I will be having September 15th. Kenny K Flow Florian. He's going to come through and we're going to get an interview in. A lot of stuff to talk about with that guy. One of my favorite fighters of all time. He belonged to probably the best lightweight division of all time, or at least the most stacked. I don't know if it was the best, like pound for pound, but it certainly was one of the most stacked. Ultimate Fighter alum, just all around a terrific career, and he's agreed to come through and chop it up with us here on Infighting FX. So September 15th, save the date. We will be live with K Flow Champ. Shout out Matt in the chat. So yeah, we got K Flow coming in September 15th. Actually I have a couple of guests next week, but I don't really want to say anything until I confirm the time, because still haven't confirmed the time with a few of them. But yeah, we will be back tomorrow. TikTok in the AM, and then everywhere else in the afternoon. Nah, bro, I was going to, but I'm not going to after all. I'm just gonna do it on Twitch though. I think I'm gonna do it on Twitch. Man, I guess I'll just tell y'all real quick before I get out. Me and D Style did that show on Rajah Jackson. Dude, I was getting really good numbers on YouTube with it. And then they took they took the video down and gave me a copyright strike. And I feel bad because I was the one hosting. So D got the copyright strike as well. Man, I felt horrible about it, but it happens. But anyway, I said that to say that I clipped it and I have portions of it that I'm going to repost. But yeah, dude, that was a weird show though. For those that weren't tapped in, I'm not even gonna get into it. I'll post a video, you'll see. But yeah, I'll be on Twitch for Undisputed. But if you do the other thing, I don't give a shit. Yeah, bro, they gave me a strike. D thinks it was because I showed the Raja stuff. I thought it was because I showed a little too much of the Stone Cold Mike Tyson thing from Raw that from back in the day. But the thing is, I didn't play any audio, like at all, like none. And they've never done that. The only thing, the reason he thinks it was the Rajah Jackson thing is because of how graphic it was. But I'm like, it's still on YouTube. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's crazy when you think about the fact that it's still on YouTube too. Like, I'm not saying that it should be taken down. I'm saying that it's on Raj's own channel. Like, I don't know. He must be leaving it up thinking like, oh, this will prove everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be that type of situation. But anyway, yeah, we will be back tomorrow. And then Twitch schedule I'm putting out tonight. But it's basically just gonna be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, basically. We're gonna do the Fridays shows and the Monday shows after Raw and after SmackDown, on Twitch only, because I like showing shit. I like showing y'all what I'm talking about. Bro, they do strike everyone, bro. Like, It's crazy, crazy. Um, I like doing it. I like to show receipts. I'm not the type of dude who wants to come on here and just like say a bunch of shit without like explaining it and trying to give my rationality. And it's hard to do that without visual effects sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So fuck YouTube, bro. I'm not doing it no more. I'll go on, for the podcast once a month or once a week, maybe twice a week. But I'm just gonna stay on Twitch from now on in X because I don't know, bro. They just want to kick us off, bro. That's all they want. They're like, we're giving too much money away. That's what makes me firmly believe the whole library going to the Vault channel. Yeah, Matt, I really thought it was a great idea when you said it too, but I keep hearing these rumors that ESPN's going to end up with it. And I wouldn't mind it since I get the thing for free with my dad's DirecTV D stream. But yeah, it's kind of whack though. And you saw that the NXT is keeping or Peacock is keeping the NXT PLEs too. So it's gonna be ESPN and then Peacock, and then there's still like, I mean, obviously Netflix too. Yeah. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. Mayhem, wasn't that you who had tweeted that, right? About Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch rumored for the Marvel movie or for Avengers Doomsday, right? Yeah, because that's what I was trying to say is like if they put them together and that's true, then that has to be part of it. I mean, they're going to go on this press tour as couple, man and wife, for one of the biggest Marvel movies ever, with probably more stars in it than any movie in the history of movies. Um, that's going to be huge. So I would definitely see them putting them together and keeping them together throughout that process. I also think the Street Fighter movie is going to be huge, bro. I really do. I mean, I don't know if y'all saw they got the figs. They're doing the crossover. So like Ultimate Warrior is Blanca, Yokozuna is not Zangief. Who is the sumo wrestler from Street Fighter? I forget his name. Yep, fixing to get a VPN. Fuck all these subscriptions. Bro, you ain't the only one feeling that way, champ. I'm just gonna say it that way. Um yeah, no, I got it, but I'm not gonna do it right now though. But I appreciate you tapping in. I'm gonna look into it, man, because I don't know why it won't let you click the link from there, but you're supposed to be able to click the link. You can't go all live from IG though. It would be a situation where it would take you from IG to a link, um, and then you could click on from there. But I'm tapping out, so you could try tomorrow, champ. Infighting FX. Shout out to Abe Gonzalez, the champ that booked it all tonight successfully. Man, by the way, his win percentage is like crazy. Man, I gotta talk to him about it. It's like 93 or like 94. Last time I checked during the summer, it was like 94%. He was something like that with the bookings. Crazy. But anyway, shout out to everybody who was in the chat. Shout out to everybody for tapping in. And tomorrow, TikTok in the morning and everything else in the afternoon, I will be on the Chicano Prophets live stream and podcast tomorrow as a guest. So definitely check that out. Follow me on IG, X, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. I'll share the link on all the social media so y'all can tap in. Definitely a really good conversation I expect to have with him on Canelo Crawford and the state of I guess Mexican boxing on YouTube. Yeah. But anyway, till tomorrow. Peace.